Welcome to The Just Life, where we expose problems of injustice, engage with people making a difference, and explore ways we all can live more justly in everyday life. I'm Benjamin Watson, and I've got a special guest today. I'm joined by Lecrae, full name. I'm not going to give you a full government name, but last name Moore. He's a Grammy Award-winning hip-hop artist, entrepreneur, author, social activist. As a co-founder of Reach Records, he has used his platform to speak boldly at the intersection of faith, culture, and justice. He's known for his honesty, powerful storytelling, and Lecrae is also a devoted husband and father of three. His personal journey of faith, healing, and purpose continues to inspire a generation seeking to live with conviction and hope. And Lecrae, I consider myself part of that generation that you are inspiring to live a life of conviction and hope. Welcome to The Just Life.
Thank you. Couple things before we begin. One, I forgot that you did commentary for sports. I was like, that sounds really good. And two, I don't know why I've never felt inadequate when somebody said I had 3 kids until you said it. It felt like there wasn't enough kids.
Dude, is that the most you've ever had?
Yeah.
Well, then that's enough. That's why I tell everybody. I'm like, man, this is not a race. You ain't got to compare yourself to anybody. I'd be like, look, is that the most? I got 2 kids. I'm like, well, that's the most you've ever had, right? Like, okay, we all just trying to make it with the most we've ever had. So, no, man, 3 kids,
like that.
That's huge.
I like that.
And you talking about the kids. How old are the kids?
My son, my oldest is 17. My youngest is 17. My daughter's 16. My youngest son is 13. Okay. So
you got all teenagers.
All teenagers.
So you like in the grind.
I'm in the grind. Well, I would say this. I just came out the grind.
Yes.
So it was like, it was a grind.
Yeah.
The older two, the oldest was the grind. The second one was a little more grind, a little less grind. And the third is like, I don't want that grind y'all went through with them two. So I'm going to play it safe.
But this is how I feel. I don't know if you feel this way, but so our oldest is 16. And the youngest 2 are 6, like 6-year-old twin boys, identical boys, and they all over the place. But they have different parents than the older.
That's right.
In the sense that, like, at this point in parenting, me and Kirsten are tired. We just, as long as you alive,
right,
like, and you're not bleeding, like, don't come to me with a bunch of stuff. And so the older ones look at that and they're like, oh, mom and dad are so lenient on you guys. Yeah. Like, well, we're just tired.
Tired.
You know, we're just tired parents.
They want justice.
There it is. Well, I love the segue.
Yeah.
Speaking of justice, this is The Just Life. And you have been a voice really that's spoken about justice your whole life. I would say probably the last 10 years or so, because of so many things that have happened in our country. Your voice has been at the forefront in a lot of ways, for better or for worse. There's been a lot of arrows shot at you, but there's been a lot of people who have upheld you as a beacon of light. And so I think we'll start. Tell me about your upbringing. Like, when did the issue of justice become more than just something that you wanted to incorporate in your music or something you want to speak about? Like, when did it become personal for you?
That's a good question. I was raised by, for all intents and purposes, a single mom. She did remarry later, but then that dissolved. So my mom was raised in the segregated South in Houston, Texas. She had to go to segregated schools and experienced all of that. And so for her, she was around when Martin Luther King was killed. She was around during the assassination of Malcolm X, and then she was fed by the Black Panthers as a child. So she saw their, like, reaching into her impoverished community and trying to help her out. So for her, it was this staple. This was this reality that we need justice as a community. And justice is not limited to the Black community, but it was evident that it was not being exercised in the Black community. So for her, she was very passionate about that. And that's what she raised me to understand. So it was kind of like, as a kid, read the Miseducation of the Negro, read The Soul of Black Folk. She was just on it, just always talking to me about these particular things. So it was always in the back of my brain. It was always there. But I didn't know what to do with it, because I understood it as a concept, but it didn't affect my life in real tangible ways that I could see.
Yeah, because you didn't know what you didn't know.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
I think it's you brought up. I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah, no,
this story because I think it's important for people to understand that, like, these events of the civil rights movement. If we want to talk about the '60s or even into the Fair Housing Act, closer to '70, this didn't happen so long ago. Like you said, your mom.
My mom.
Yeah, my parents were born. I always like to say, like, I'm the first generation in my family that, at least on paper, was born with all the rights, right? Because your parents were born in the '50s.
That's right.
And it's not like they're dead and gone. It's not like this happened a long time ago.
That's
like
right.
This is some very recent history.
Yep. Absolutely. So that was, for her, it was a reality that she had to live through that she didn't want me to have to experience. So it was very important for her, for me to experience a sense of autonomy, of having rights, of being seen as a full human being. And I don't think it became real to me that, we live in two different Americas, so to speak. Like there's distinctions. Now, mind you, there was evidence all around. I just couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it was everywhere. Like, I didn't realize when I was facing discrimination for particular things, when I was being followed around the grocery stores as a kid. I'm not thinking about that.
It was just life.
That's just how life is. So I wasn't thinking about justice or injustice. I was just thinking, this is what it is. I think when it became real to me was I feel like I was fresh out of college, like maybe my first year out of college. And I was driving in East Texas, and I had one of those, when you buy a car, there's around your license plate, there's like advertisement, the little plastic thing around the plate.
Yeah, from where you bought it from.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had this Dodge Stratus, and I had this little frame around the plate that talked about the dealership that I got it from. And I'm driving in East Texas, and I'm driving the speed limit.
Yeah.
But I get pulled over. And I was like, well, I wonder why he pulled me over. And, the officer comes over to my car, and he says, I'm gonna have to write you a ticket for having that thing around your license plate. We don't have, that's not legal here. And I was like, okay, I never knew this.
It comes from the dealership.
Yeah, I never even knew that. I was like, okay. So I was like, I was frustrated by it, but I was like, okay. And I just kept driving, and I got probably about 20, 30 minutes up the road, I got pulled over again by another officer.
For the same thing?
The same thing. And I was like, hey, I already know he already pulled me over. I get a little further down the highway, maybe about an hour or so down the highway, I get pulled over again.
But three times in one day is
Now, at this point, I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
The third time I get pulled over, I'm asked to get out the car, and I'm like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? And they said, well, these cars are the type of cars that people generally use to traffic narcotics. And I was like, what? There's a car specific to trafficking narcotics? And I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. And that's when it occurred to me, I'm being profiled.
Yeah.
Like, they see a black guy driving through this town, and they keep pulling me over. Like, what are you doing here? And they brought the dogs out. They said, the dog alerted. And I was like, what? A dog alerted to what? They tore all the seats out the car.
On the side of
the
highway.
road, side of the highway, and found nothing. And then told me to go on my way. I had to put the seats back in the car, by the way. And that's when I realized this is injustice. Like, this is not okay, but there was nothing I could do about it. And that's when it hit me. Everything my mother had taught me, it got real.
I think so many people have that point in time in their life where all the things that they hear about or they read about, it becomes real to them through their experience. But the frustrating piece, at least to me, and I would imagine for you, is that you don't have anywhere to put it. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like, who do you talk to?
Exactly.
So after that incident, what was your next step? Was it to internalize it, or was it to lash out? Did you talk about it? What?
Yeah, you just vent. I vented to my mom, and then the stuff that she began to say became more real. Like, oh, she's like, yeah, you got to be this and this and this. And when you're in East Texas, you drive and make sure everything is legit. And you put 2 and 10, put the keys on top of the dashboard. You don't ask questions. You do, and it was like, oh man. You know, there's nothing I can do with this. It's just like, oh, this is just my reality. I have to live with this.
Yeah. And
you're enraged, and it develops a hatred, probably like a disdain. But it was a sense of like, man, I want to vent, but there's no one to vent to. No one cares.
So at that point, were you involved in church, or were you a believer?
Yeah. So I actually was, but the concept of faith and justice were not married to me yet.
Okay.
Right.
It seemed like two distinct silos.
Exactly.
It was like justice was a worldly construct, a positive one, a necessary one.
Sure.
But inside the church, there was never that language that was used inside the church.
Oh, no. We didn't talk about that. It wasn't a thing that we talked about. I mean, in church, you know, what was discussed was obviously salvation. You know, and how do you meet Jesus, and what does that look like? And then discipleship. Okay, what does life look like after I meet Jesus? And then evangelism, go share Jesus, and then make disciples. And then the rest of this stuff is the world. You know, so justice was not a concept that I believed was biblical. It was a political or a societal thing, and I didn't know where to place that, and didn't know God felt a way about it.
So how did that change for you? Because I think, you know, when you read through scripture, clearly there is righteousness and justice. You see those two words together so many different times throughout scripture. I've heard you speak about it. We've talked about the fact that, you know, you look through so many Old Testament books, even in the New Testament, James, Matthew, you look at all these books, and the idea of justice is central to scripture. It's central to God's heart. You know, Psalms talks about righteousness and justice being the foundation of his throne.
That's right.
But to your point, there's this disconnect a lot of times. How did you make the connection? Was it you reading, or was there some event that happened?
Yeah, I think the connection came about. You fast forward to probably around 2014, I would say. I guess Trayvon Martin was killed in 2012. I imagine 2012. So fast forward to 2012, and Trayvon Martin is killed. Obviously, I feel like it's an injustice, right? But I don't know how to articulate that. I don't think this is right. Like, I think God has a standard, and I don't think this is right. I think we should be mourning and grieving that someone was killed without probable cause, you know, and a kid at that. So I remember posting that on Facebook, right? And I was just remember, because I didn't know that there, I didn't know like there were different Christians thought different things about all of this. And I said, hey, I think it's really sad that Trayvon Martin was killed. Let's be praying for his family. And this is really frustrating that this would happen. Well, that's when I learned that there are sects of evangelicalism that vehemently disagree with the concept of justice, specifically like racial justice. And the concept was foreign to them. So I was attacked for that post. And I thought maybe I said it wrong. I was like, maybe I said it wrong.
Maybe I said pray wrong. Maybe I said pray for, you know. Okay.
The concept was wrong. So felt that attack. Fast forward to Michael Brown being killed. And I went to a memorial for Michael Brown, and I posted a picture about it on social media. And just said, man, I forgot to post exactly, but something along the lines, I'm praying for what's happening here. And I was attacked through social media like none other, right? Like, so that's when it got chaotic. And the attacks at that point in time didn't make sense. I was confused. Like, why are Christians so upset at this?
So you were genuinely like taken aback.
Oh, yeah.
You were surprised.
Oh, yeah.
Because these are people who you have performed for. These are people that have bought your music. These are people that see you in the airport and other places and get your autograph and want to take a picture and love Lecrae.
Yep.
But on this issue, they attack you.
Attacked me. I mean, to the point to where there were just like, now a lot of the commentary was, it was stop being political.
Yeah.
It was, he's a thug. And I was like, oh, there's a lot of profiling, and they can't relate because they don't have a cousin like Mike Brown, or they don't understand the circumstances surrounding this issue. And that's when I began to say, something's wrong here. And I don't know how to help Christians understand that this is a matter of injustice. And by the grace of God, other Christians were speaking out.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Brian Laritz has said some things, and a couple other folks where they were articulating biblical justice. And I was like, oh, it's 2014. I'd never seen this in Amos.
Yeah.
I never considered this. And, so now I'm like, oh, there's a world where God cares about justice. But, and I could be going too far off the deep end, but I'll just say this.
Yeah.
Those just became proof texts
Mm-hmm.
and not concepts for me. It's
Mm-hmm.
only within the last 5 years that I've understood the ancient Hebraic concepts of justice.
Okay.
Mishpat, which is like the idea of restoring what is wrong to right.
Yeah.
Zedekah, which I actually have the Hebrew words tattooed on my arm,
I was
my
trying
hand.
to read it, but
you couldn't figure that
but
out.
now I know what it
Now
says.
you know.
Because you're talking about daily living.
Zedekah. It's a lot of. I'm out. Now, don't get my Hebrew language is bad. My articulation, but this essentially means it's righteousness. It's right living. It's doing what is right. And justice is not what God does. It's who God is. He is righteous. He is restoration. So justice is not just a proof text we need to see. Justice is who God is. Justice is the reason why we can call ourselves Christian, is because justice has been done on our behalf. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, you just preached the whole sermon. And what's crazy was Zedekiah, if we were to live that way, mishpat would not be necessary.
That's right.
Like we would not need the
restoring.
We wouldn't need the punishment or the protection if we were living in our daily lives in a way that is equitable and honorable and generous and fair and all those sorts of things. So you get to this epiphany. All the things kind of come together at that point. And so then how does that change how you look at the church? Do you think, because you can go one of two ways.
Yeah.
And I think, and you went through this, we'll talk about it. But for a lot of people, when they have the realization, it repels them from the church in the sense of organized religion. Mm-hmm. They go the other way. Mm-hmm. For some people, it draws them in and it gives them a fight. Mm-hmm. But for a lot of people, myself included, you wonder, okay, I know these systemic injustices occur. Mm-hmm. You can name them, we can go through them, but I always wonder, what is the role of the church in eradicating them? Yeah. If they don't even realize that they're a problem.
That's right.
And so as you move through this, what would you say, what is the role of the church today in addressing systemic injustice?
Well, let's go back in time before we go forward, right? If you go back in time, because people will always say, where's the church at today as it pertains to justice? Mm-hmm. And I'll just deal with the Black church right now, first and foremost, right? So let's just even look at the Black church, because some people say, well, where's the Black church at?
Define that term.
When I say the Black church, I don't mean like there's a white church and a Black church. Like, God is a global church. Yeah. What I mean is that culturally, we have congregated by our ethnicities and our cultures. Okay. And that's because historically Black people weren't allowed to go to church with white people. Yeah. So we'll still do church. And it's been that way, and it's just kept that way, but within the history of, the context of African Americans or the Black church, they were super involved in the justice movement of civil rights in America. But not just that, because if you go back further, if you look at every massacre in America, every Black massacre in America, and there's tons of them.
Yeah.
Historically.
Lots of them.
When you start getting to all these massacres, if you were to do the research, and I was just talking to a good friend of mine, Dr. Eric Mason, who has done some of the research, but when you do the research, you find they intentionally had to bomb these churches to tear apart these communities because the churches were so critical in the foundation of those communities. And so historically, the church has been the centerpiece of multiple ethnic communities, right? Like the Hispanic community, the African-American community.
They're anchors.
They're anchors
in the community. Yeah.
And so because of that, so many things were created that fought injustices in society, right? Oh, they're orphans. The church steps in and says, let's feed them.
Yep.
Oh, there are lack of education. The church steps in and creates institutions of higher education, right? So when you move to the civil rights era, because we're now fighting for racial justice, the church comes together. But once you get integration and you don't have this collective issue that you used to have, the church is now like, well, what's our mission? What's our goal? And I think that's where we are today. Is churches are like, well, what are we supposed to do about it? You know, like, what's our job? I don't know what our job is supposed to do, but really we're the beacon. We are the picture of right standing. We're the plumb line. We're the example of what unity and harmony and peace and love and restoration, reconstruction. We're the picture of that for the world. If we don't exemplify that and we don't lead in those particular areas, it doesn't get seen. And I'm not saying it should all be housed in a building. Yeah. But what I am saying is that people who call themselves followers of Christ should be exemplifying this in society and in culture.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point about integration. I talked to my parents about it a lot, my father specifically, about what was gained and what was lost. And there was this loss of a lot of cultural excellence, responsibility, community, those sorts of things. You look back from a business standpoint, Black businesses within, Black neighborhoods that were excellent at what they did, and how integration in many ways dispersed that.
That's right.
So there's a lot that was lost. If I look at the landscape now when it comes to the church, there seems to be, especially in this age and in the year we live in, how politically involved even the white evangelical sect of Christianity has been when it comes to policy and politics. And you juxtapose that with the Black church, there seems to be a dangerous divide on both sides. There seems to be this gravitation, if they're not careful, toward white nationalism. There's an idea that Christianity and America are one and the same, that the Bible is talking about America in many different places. And then for some people in the Black church, there's a reciprocal response where they gravitate towards things that are not biblical and really are ruining their prophetic witness in public.
Absolutely.
How do you view that?
Oh my goodness. My God. Oh my Lord.
What's your critique?
Where do we begin? So I think first of all, let me use this analogy, very simple analogy. This is for anybody who went through what I went through. Because what my first picture of that was if this is how the church is going to act, I don't want to be a part of it.
Wow.
Right? If the church is going to perpetuate racism, racial ideology, racist ideologies, Christian nationalism, which, I mean, is really tyranny if you think about it, right? Like in a lot of ways, it's antithetical to the gospel. It's antithetical to everything Jesus preached, but that's a whole nother story. If that is the way we're going to function and the way we're going to move, I didn't want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm done with Christianity, right? Now, I love Chipotle. Okay?
That's a favorite in our house.
I love Chipotle.
Kids love it.
That's right.
Yep.
What I have learned is that there are certain Chipotles who don't season as well as others.
That's what I was going to say. Some of the seasoning
That's
is
right.
questionable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, just because I've tried Chipotle and the seasoning was not good at one location does not mean I am done with all Chipotle.
True.
What I believe happened to me and what is happening consistently to others is we have seen a sect of the church that was unseasoned, that was misrepresentative of who God and his kingdom is. And we've said, I'm done with it all. Right? So that's the first thing I would say to people when they see the nationalism, because I've had conversations with Killer Mike, incredible rapper, political voice in society and culture. We've had conversations about this. And his idea of Christianity was Roman Catholicism and white nationalism. And I was like, no. There's so many more nuance to it than that.
Yep.
So one thing I would say is that, man, American Christianity is not the ground zero for the faith. It's just that we are Americans, and that's the lens that we're seeing things through.
Yeah.
So when we see our Christian faith being co-opted by politicians in order to make their policies go through, that's not an indictment on the Church of Jesus Christ. That's really just people who are co-opting biblical principles in order to fulfill their own selfish agendas and ideas. Now, will some wheat and tares get mixed up? Absolutely. But Jesus lets them grow together. We carry on and implement what's really supposed to be happening. So absolutely, there's a critique. I can't stand it. But I think the church has got to be smarter and stop getting swept up in political ideologies. Because if you really care about the Bible, your politics is going to fall short somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Right? Like if the Bible is central to what you believe, your politics has got to fall short. And I don't think many people are critiquing their politics who call themselves Christians, specifically in today's day and age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said a lot. So you have to be comfortable, I think, as a believer with being an outcast in some respect.
Absolutely.
If you feel like your entire theology lines up with one political party, you're probably incorrect.
Yeah, absolutely. You are.
yeah, you are. You are.
Yeah.
You are. So Church Closed For. Wonderful album.
Appreciate
I think
it.
I remember listening to Still in America, and I was like, oh, snap. Like, this dude has said a whole lot. You talk about immigration, you talk about abortion, you talk about police brutality, you talk about sexuality and gender identity, you talk about abuse in the church. But not only that song, but that song was like a prophetic word. Like that was a bold witness in the culture of exactly what you're talking about. The fact that there are all these different issues on political platforms and how believers, you exposed a lot. You expose injustice. You also expose how a believer should be thinking about those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So athletes always want to be entertainers, and entertainers always supposedly want to be athletes. And you sitting at 6'5", you probably would have been a heck of a tight end. Probably been way better than me. But how does it feel to be able to address the culture in such a bold and powerful way through your music and through your art?
I don't think I realized the prophetic work of the music. You know what I mean? I just feel the burden, and I just, it needs to be said. And I'm like, why is nobody saying this? Like, it's not that complicated, is it? But sometimes that's the voice that God gives you. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, okay, the way I felt specifically, like in a song like Still in America, is abortion is an injustice. Police brutality is an injustice. One of them does not make me a Republican and one does not make me a Democrat. Both of them make me a Christian, right? Like me being able to see the sin, the crime in society and be burdened for that matters. And so in order to say what the scriptures say, I've got to say both of these are evils in our society and let the chips fall where they may. And to me, I didn't feel as if that was prophetic. I felt like it was just true.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Like, why is one against the, like, why is racial stuff political and unborn babies dying biblical? Like, they're both biblical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just that we have been taught that one political angle is upholding the truth of scripture. And that's the one we need to roll with. And in my mind, I'm like, no, both of them are, I don't think God is pleased either way.
You seem to have a sense of empathy when you speak to people that may go to the right or may go to the left on those issues. Do you think the fact that you can actually pinpoint where it all came together for you, like, leads you to understand how some people are living in darkness, so to speak? Like they don't understand the same way you didn't understand, that justice was a part of Scripture.
Yeah, I think two things happen when you come to revelation of truth. You get arrogant, or you become empathetic, right? Like, one or two things happen. I've seen people, truth is revealed to them and they become arrogant and self-righteous and look down upon people who that truth is not revealed for. Well, actually, I've been that person, right? But then I've also been the person who has suffered under the weight of lies, suffered under the weight of self-righteousness, my own self-righteousness and others. And my new revelation led to empathy. And so for me now, yeah, I'm like, oh man, I hate that you're blind in this area. I hate that for you. But I'm always willing to, like Jesus, I was just reading, how the disciples were questioning his parables. It's like, why is he so parabolic in the way he speaks? But Jesus was like, well, if they really want to know, they'll inquire.
Yeah.
They'll inquire. If they're really sincere, and most of them don't want to know. They just want to argue.
Aren't sincere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They either want to argue,
Absolutely.
or like you said before, there's some sort of advantage that they have by being part of some club or some tribe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So justice is not at the forefront of their perspective 9 times out of 10. It's self-righteousness, or like you said, it's an advantage. It's how can I take advantage of this? When justice is at the forefront, humility should follow, right? If you really care about justice, then there should be a humility that says, well, what do I do, right?
Yeah.
And I got to that place. So when we talk about the music, right? Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
I learned there's policy.
Yep.
There's publicity. There's proclamation. And there's prayer. And I was like, policy ain't my thing. Yeah. Just to give it, you got it.
You got it.
Policy ain't my thing. Publicity, I can do that. I got a platform. I can push and make and create some noise for some things that need to happen. Proclamation, yes, or prophecy, music, I can do that. That works as publicity as well. And in prayer, which we don't do enough of.
Yeah.
We're not trusting that God would do a work in our society, not just our country. Like, not just these invisible lines that we drew, but for the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What makes you more frustrated? When people question your Christianity and say that you've gone woke? Or when people say, Lecrae, you've got the platform, you've got the publicity, you're not doing enough when it comes to fighting injustice?
Oh, okay. Probably number one. Let me tell you why. Is because one of them has so many misunderstandings. The first has so many misunderstandings. It's so ill-informed that it frustrates me that you could be frustrated. It's almost like if I'm like, this glass is so dirty. Like, you can't even see inside of it. It's so dirty. And I'm like, it's not a glass, bro. It's not even a glass.
That's good.
That's you know what I mean? And it just frustrates me because I'm like, you don't.
But you're sincere.
Yeah. But I'm like, you're just so ill-informed. You're mad about something that's not a real thing.
Yeah.
And that's the part from he's gone woke. And I'm like, oh, that even that word just raises the hair on my skin. It's just like, I hate that word now. I hate it. But that's a whole nother conversation.
I feel like I'm trying to I don't hate it. I want people to know like what it really means.
Yeah.
But you mentioned this before. Some people just aren't ready. Like some people just don't care. It's become a part of their ideology, and they feel comfortable using it and using it as pejorative. And there's just no desire to really understand anything about it.
Yeah.
And so there's this. I'm wrestling with that. I'm wrestling like, do we move on from it, or no? Like the truth is the truth, and like this is what it means, and this is why. And you find people here and there. I think the same token, kind of the stick to the gospel.
Yes.
People tell you stick to the gospel.
Oh, yes.
I know you've heard that before, right?
Oh, Lord God, yes. And I'm like, the gospel, that's part of the problem, is you don't even know what the gospel is.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem. There's a common saying, God said it, I believe it, that settles it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
God said it, you misinterpreted it, and that does not settle it.
Yeah.
Right? The Bible said it, I believe it, that settles it. The Bible said it, you misinterpreted it.
Mm-hmm.
So even when we're talking about the gospel, just preach the gospel. You've limited the gospel to just a message about Jesus dying and resurrecting. That's all it is to you. It's a mess. No, the gospel means good news. Where did that term good news come from? It came from the idea that a new king had arrived, evangelion. It's a testimony, a proclamation of a new king and a new kingdom. The King of Kings, that means peace is coming. That means wholeness and restoration is coming. That means everything will be made new. That means you are welcome to be a part of a whole new way of living because we're in a new kingdom. You can come alive and be a part of this kingdom. Not just, I'm going to heaven now. That's it. I heard the message. It's like, no. The kingdom is about us doing justice.
Yes.
The gospel is what gives you the ability to even be an ambassador for it. And it's like, just preach the gospel. That's what I'm doing.
That's what I'm doing. I'm doing it with my feet too.
That's right.
I'm doing it with my feet and my
mouth
hands.
and my feet and my hands, all of them together. So
exactly.
Yeah, the part about you're not doing enough with this platform, I'm like, I mean, that's subjective. You know what I mean? Like, what's enough? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, what's enough? How do we? And I just got tired of critiques in general, and I just resolved to just do the work. So I said, I could. It's a job to defend yourself.
It is,
and it's a waste of energy.
You're wasting energy, and you're not being true to who God has called you to be.
That's right.
So what are the issues? Obviously, we've talked about your journey when it comes to race in this country,
for sure.
But what are the issues that like break your heart? What are the things that you see in the world? And it might just be when it comes to race in America. But what are the things that you look at and you say, God, if I could change this for this group of people, or if I could stop people from doing this, like what are the things that break your heart?
Yeah, I mean, everything that breaks God's heart in one way or another, I feel like should break our heart, right? But there are certain issues that we just feel a burden for in a unique way, and that God puts on your heart in a unique way. And for me, it's disenfranchised communities, right? Like I hate seeing people being taken advantage of for the gain of others. Right, this disenfranchisement just chaps my, I don't know, whatever the term is, but it gets under my skin. I hate dishonest scales and people being taken advantage of. Like, it just frustrates me. And for two reasons. One is because I have so much access now as a public figure, a celebrity, someone who's financially in a great position. I have so much access, and I see how people are taking advantage of those without access.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, the rich need poor. in order to become richer.
Can you dig
Elaborate?
deeper on that?
Yeah,
Can
for
you
sure.
give us like
So
a clear example of what you mean?
yes, we were just having a whole long conversation about this.
Mm.
Let's take something like redlining, right?
Okay.
So redlining historically eliminated certain ethnic communities from living in areas that were for the majority white community, right? Like, so redlining took place and said, hey, you guys can't live here because it's for us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the poor people who in America were minorities, you go to India, it's caste system. It's not about race, it's caste, whatever. But the poor people live in this particular part of town. Well, that means the value of that property and that land has gone down, which the rich people needed to go down in order to acquire it. Once it goes down low enough, it's like the stock market. The stocks get low enough, I'm buying those.
Oh, you're buying? Oh, yeah.
I'm buying them up.
Yep.
So we need poor people in ghettos and subsects of society to create to live in undesirable places so that the property value is low and we can gobble it up, right? And when we own it now that it's low, we can plan for years out for it to go up. And now we own it. And then we can push them out and build on this land that we own for cheap and pull in people who make more money so we can make money off of it. And what are we doing? We're pushing them to another part of town that is undesirable currently, but we'll buy that too.
So are you saying, and I'm glad we're digging into this because you mentioned redlining, and for a lot of people, redlining is very real. I mean, there's literal red lines on maps. That's where the term came from. But that was during a certain specific time. Are you saying that that's still happening today?
It's just zoning.
Okay.
You can just create zoning codes now, and you can say, hey, in this particular zone, which I've seen, because I do a little real estate myself.
Okay.
Which I've seen. There's real zoning codes that say, hey, only a certain amount of people who are not related can live in this part of town.
Okay.
Right? So it can live in one residence, one dwelling. What they're saying is most immigrants live in communities together, and they may not all be related, but they may all come from the same country, same place. And we don't want them here.
Yeah.
Right? But where can we put them that it benefits us? Where can we put them that we make money off of them? Because we're trying to figure that out. So that's just a zoning code. We can just create zones to put people where we want them and to create areas that are more wealthy and areas that are more impoverished. And that's a simple form of disenfranchisement. But one really, I mean, that's a more complicated form. One simple one that I hate are like the payday loan type of places where it's just kind of like you're broke. You walk in, they say, hey, listen, we'll give you a little money early.
Interest rate sky
with a high interest rate. And they keep you perpetually trapped in a cycle of debt. But they know that. They know you're not going to be able to pay it. And that's why they take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some of these things seem like fairly benign, right? They don't seem to be race motivated or even class motivated. And I think that a lot of times we get in these conversations and so much of injustice is always in retrospect. It's always in retrospect. In this country, if you back this thing up a couple hundred years, or even, we don't have to go that far. We can go 100 years ago. We can go 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And every time you back it up 10 years, things come to light. I remember reading about, even hiring practices in Fortune 500 companies.
Oh yeah.
Studies that were done on that. You talked about real estate. You talked about, certain real estate brokers that were guiding people away from houses because they were owned by Black folks or whatever it may be. I mean, there's all these things that come to light through research in retrospect. And so I think the difficult thing is for people to be open to hearing that there are things that are happening right now that may not seem unjust.
Yeah.
But in fact, they are.
Yeah.
What is your message to people who think that every single thing that's unjust happened yesterday and they are unwilling to even discover if there are things that are happening today?
I think the term disciple, I think, is, if you're calling yourself a Christian, right, a follower of Jesus, I think disciple does it a little, the term disciple in our Western world tends to mean like student. And when we think of student, we think classroom.
Mhm.
And when we think classroom, we think information. And I think we have limited or dumbed down the idea of following Jesus to learning information, right? And so I think if you really want to be a disciple, a follower of Jesus, you would see yourself more as an apprentice, right? So when you are an apprentice in a barber shop, you're not just writing down how to cut a head. You got to get in there and you got to actually cut. You got to sweep up the hair. You got to understand how this works. I think to be a follower of Jesus, an apprentice of Jesus, you're going to have to get in the trenches. And that means being humble, being a learner, and constantly putting yourself around people who can show you something that you haven't already seen, who can show you things you haven't already learned. I will never arrive as a follower of Christ until I'm with him.
See his face.
Right. So if you think it's benign, if you think these issues are not legitimate or you can't see them, but you're sitting here hearing a conversation from two Christian men who you're like, well, I've heard them say some things that I do respect, that I do. Maybe it's worth investigating.
Yeah.
Maybe it's worth saying, well, as a good follower, let me dive in. Let me dig in. And I can say that from a healthy place of laying myself on the train tracks of faith in these particular areas where I was like, I don't know how, like, well, they say this is their doctrine. They say this. Well, let me go dive in.
Yeah.
Let me learn. Well, they say this is happening in India, but they say it's not. Let me learn. Let me dive in. And the last thing I would just say is that if you don't dive in, then I would say you're culpable and responsible for understanding you don't know. Don't assume you know and you've never investigated. I'm okay with you saying I'm probably not gonna go and look into child labor laws in Guatemala. Okay. But I don't get to say it's not happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Silence is being complicit.
That's right.
In a lot of ways. The weight of all this. So there's a cost. And I think when you talk about silence, even Dr. King, when he's writing from, the letter from Birmingham jail, and he talks about, people being silent, saying not now, let's wait, let's take this thing slowly.
Yeah.
But the silence from people who are supposed to be allies, and especially in the church, brothers and sisters in Christ, that can have a damaging effect on you as you try to proclaim and unveil and explore these issues of injustice. You've talked a lot about mental health. We've talked about it. You talked about trauma. You've talked about anxiety. Talk a little bit about how that journey has related to this fight for justice, and if the silence of others was loud, in your ear, and driving you to some of those darker places.
I would say the silence of people who you thought were allies or advocates is extremely loud. Makes you feel alone. Right. So it drove me to a dark place because I wanted someone to advocate for me. I wanted someone who had a voice and agreed with me, or at least I thought they agreed with me, to like say, no, I agree with him. What you're doing is you're offering encouragement to people. You're offering them, you're bearing one another's burdens, as the scripture calls us to do. And when people are silent and yet they agree with you, or they understand, or they are compassionate about your issue, but they're silent about not just your issue, but the issues in society or what's going on in the world, you're robbing them of the encouragement God put in you to serve, right? And you're robbing yourself of the opportunity to serve God in a unique way. So the mental health piece for me is that I struggled because I felt like, man, so many of you who see these issues that I'm bringing up are silent.
Yeah.
And to me, it's one thing to be silent because you're unaware. Like, I just didn't even know. That's fine. It's another thing to be silent because you're afraid of what it'll cost you. Now, that's where I'd say you have some inner work to do. If you know it's wrong, but you saying something about it will cost you, then I think there's some serious growth that has to happen in all of us, because we've all been there.
Yeah.
But that's damaging to the mental, emotional, and spiritual health of others and yourself. Yeah.
So what gives you hope? You know, you got a tremendous voice. The end of the year chapels always happen for the kids' school, and we go to these end of the year chapels. And your songs are always played, and the kids are always doing dances, and they go crazy. I'm sure you've seen countless videos of kids across the world dancing to your songs, right? Yeah. So you have this incredible voice. What keeps you hopeful, and what's your hope for young people? You've got 3 kids of your own. Like, what's your hope for them when it comes to injustice and injustice in America, in the world, really?
Because God is still working. Right? I'm hopeful because God keeps on working. He keeps showing up. He keeps giving us these proverbial breadcrumbs that he's in the midst. And, you know, it's kind of like, it's like turning the page in the chapter and you see, like, it's, I put it like this, like a Marvel movie, right? And you get to the end of the Marvel movie, but you're like, I guess that's the end. It's like, it's never the end of a Marvel movie.
Oh yeah, they got 1 million coming after that.
You know, when the credits roll, there's another thing that's about to pop up. And I think that's what God does for us, is it's like, man, this is so tough. This is so hard. This is so terrible. And then a miracle happens and someone breaks through, or you see how the death of somebody else created a wave of transformation in a culture or society or a group of people, or the person you least expected says, I've had a change of heart and I'm going in this direction now. And you're like, look, God is still moving. He's still doing things. And that's the hope you get, right? It's just like, you get this encouragement. And I feel like, you know, God gives us these little breadcrumbs to remember that he's walking with us, especially in the face of injustice. And it's similar, I would imagine. The little breadcrumbs we get are like a microcosm, a tiny piece of what Stephen must have been able to see as he's getting stoned. Right? Like, how can you sit there and endure that? Of course you can. Because, oh my goodness, look where I'm going.
You're looking up.
Yeah. Look where I'm looking. My eyes are fixed on what they need to be fixed on. Yeah. And I think that's what God does, is in the lowest of times, there's a breadcrumb somewhere. Yeah. He just does it to where we're like, but you've got to fix your eyes on him in order to even be able to see the things that he's offering. You got to be connected with him. We got to be spending, and this is where I get into like spiritual practices, even for myself, is, Lecrae, do you Sabbath? Do you stop thinking about what you're going to do and what you're going to accomplish and what movements you're going to make and how you're going to change things? Do you stop and just spend time with God?
Do you abide?
Yeah. Are you just praying? Are you just, because if you're not, how can you hope in someone you're spending no time with?
Yeah.
You know, how do you know where he's breathing and what he's doing if you're not communing with him on a regular basis?
And I think it prevents us from being jaded. Prevents us from having a whole lot of animosity, which I can be prone to. But it also, on the other side, it keeps us grounded in that we understand that, like, there are real people hurting. Like, there's people in our neighborhoods, in our churches, there's people around the globe that are facing power dynamics and that are being pressed under people's thumb, and nobody's speaking for them.
That's right.
And so it keeps us sober in that way too. So your legacy, like, what do you hope your legacy will be when it comes to things like justice and reconciliation and restoration?
I think God is, in this season of my life, I've been publicity, proclamation, or prophecy, you know, prayer. I think I would hope that the first 40 years of my life, it was, oh, look at how he used his voice to communicate about these things. And, he may have done stuff behind the scenes, but look how he used his voice. I would hope and anticipate that the next 40 years of my life are going to be something different, are going to be something more fulfilling and more engaging. I have a dream. I mean, it's a little bit of a pipe dream. I don't know if it'll work.
No
I don't
such
know.
thing.
But my dream is to just die serving people who are incarcerated.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if that means a chaplain. I don't know if that means working with a prison ministry or nonprofit. I don't know, but I just know I would love to spend my last hours serving people who the world has forgotten about, and these are heinous people.
Yeah.
These are people. I'm not, see, because a lot of people are like, oh, prison ministry, it's so good of you. When you visited me, when you visited those in prison, you visited me, good for you.
Yeah.
No. Let's paint the real picture.
Yeah.
Someone touched a child in an inappropriate way,
Mm-hmm.
and they deserve to be locked up.
Yeah.
But God still loves them. Can I? Can you? Who will?
Yeah.
Someone took the life of a family member, and they deserve to be locked up.
Which is just.
It's justice.
But
the grace that was given to me, can I extend that to them? To me, that's where I see myself stretched in new ways, loving in new ways, and pouring myself out. And I
don't think that's a pipe dream, by the way. I think
okay.
I've seen videos of you in prison speaking, and it's awesome how God gives his people hearts for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always specific assignments at specific times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you look over your life and you see how you've been uniquely guided and equipped for that people group, in this case, the incarcerated, to minister to them in a way that only you can. And so that can be, like you mentioned, that can be different than the people you ministered to or you cared about before.
Yeah.
Not that you in this time of life, I don't think it's a pipe.
I appreciate it.
I don't think it is. And I also think that it's necessary because it's about relationships. It's not about getting a picture for the gram. It's not about saying you visited these folks. It's about building relationships. And there's still human dignity.
That's right.
Behind the bars.
That's right. And some of them are facing injustice. They shouldn't even be there.
Some of them are.
Right? So that's a dynamic that I just think is tangled up and messy.
Yeah.
And I don't know what my life looks like in that infrastructure, in that system, but I do know that it is taking advantage of too many disenfranchised communities.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like something's got to shake. Something's got to shift.
So that's one thing that's next for Lecrae.
Yeah.
What else is next for Lecrae?
Album, book, tour. So
album, book, tour.
Yeah, album.
The small things, right?
This is something like the album is called Reconstruction. So it's a play on words. We want to reconstruct spiritually, right? I deconstructed, so let's reconstruct that faith. But then there's also the idea of the historic Reconstruction era, where there was a time period where our communities were building something phenomenal and beautiful, and slavery had ended, and there were politicians, and so it's piecemealing a lot of that together. And then the book is called Set Me Free, which is a book of poetry and essays, some song lyrics as well, but it's just articulating what freedom looks like, and we're talking about justice. Right. And how, there's levels of exposure to the ultimate justice of us, of our souls being freed because of what Jesus has done. But then what are the societal shackles that are on us that we need to be freed from. And articulating the justice that needs to extend in those particular areas. And then then I'll be on the road. I'll hit Europe and
coming to a city or continent near you.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, the Reconstruction era is I can't wait to see that, because you're right. During that time, I often say if America would have done right in Reconstruction, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about some of the things that we're talking about.
That's right.
We wouldn't have these issues in our country if Reconstruction and restoration after the egregious sin of chattel enslavement, if that was allowed to come to its full, growth, we wouldn't even be here. So I'm glad you're doing that. So all right, man. Well, after everything that we've seen, we've talked about a whole lot. This podcast is called The Just Life. And so for you, the just life means what? The just life means?
The just life means, it means living as God intended. That's what it means, living as God intended. God is justice, He's the epitome of it. He's the picture of it. Justice is the restoring of broken things. And the restoring of uneven scales. And we have uneven the scales collectively and individually. And God is working through us to do justice.
Amen. Well, I lied. There's one more thing.
Yeah.
Because you said the restoration and restoring things. So if people are wondering what they can do.
Yeah.
These things seem to be so big, so large. Where do I start? Man, I listen to you. I understand the idea of justice, but man, the scales have just been tipped for so long with such disparity. What are some practical ways people can live justly in their everyday life and even fight for the big fish too?
Yeah, I think practically one thing I would do is pray what Paul prayed, open the eyes of my heart. There's things you don't see, and God needs to reveal them to you. So be asking God to open the eyes of your heart. In that process, literature, read literature, listen to podcasts such as this one, and, expand your perspective on the areas of justice. And listen to Black and brown people if you're not one. You'll probably get a unique perspective that you wouldn't have otherwise gotten. I would encourage that. And then lastly, I would say serve, serve somebody who can't repay you. And hopefully God will do number one, open the eyes of your heart. Yeah.
Well, Lecrae, I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate your insights. Again, we started this podcast talking about like all your accolades, but I think the number one thing is the husband and the father. I love the way you speak truth to power. I love the way you speak truth with grace. And I love the way that you have been open about your struggles.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
You've encouraged people like me, but millions of others. So,
man.
And keep being a light in the culture, man. Keep being a light for the Lord. Keep fighting for justice. And thank you for joining The Just Life.
Thank you. And let me say, when they say stick to football,
man,
they not talking to you.
They ain't talking. Not no more.
Talking to you.
I don't play no more. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. Stick to sports.
Stick to sports.
They don't tell somebody posted